Okay, that's our signal to please have a seat and say good morning to everybody. Today, with ringing our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace. We acknowledge that these lands that we love are the historical lands of the historical people, of the Yavapai people. Please enjoy the gathering music today. We give thanks, sung by the Granite Peak Singers, led by Karen Denny. Thank you so much to the choir this morning, and welcome to you all. We extend a warm welcome. I am Suki Jones, your worship associate this morning. Nice warm day. We have so much to celebrate right now. We've got Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to anybody who associates with that word. And we have Juneteenth, that they are going to be recognized. Both Father's Day and Juneteenth is what is on the schedule for the children's program across the way. And we have Prescott Pride Day, and yesterday's rally at the courthouse, and my daughter's birthday, my granddaughter's birthday. So anyway, it's good to see you all, and familiar faces, and maybe a few newcomers. So this is time when visitors get to introduce themselves, and we have Reverend Roger with a microphone to encourage you.
Let me just grab these precious pins. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Roger Fritts. I'm the interim minister here. I have, counting today, only 4 more sermons. But you have a fantastic new minister coming in August, so it's not going to be bad at all. You're going to be so excited. And, you know, we decided just to meet here permanently. No. Okay. Our new sanctuary is almost done. It's getting really exciting that they put the roof on the entire building now, and from the outside, it actually really looks beautiful. If you're here for the first time, it's good to have you. And if you raise your hand and tell us where you're from, tell us your name and where you're from, I will give you the gift of a wonderful pin, this precious pin. Oh, we give thanks. All right. Well, welcome to everyone. Good to have all of you here today. And I invite you to stay afterward for our coffee hour. You going to say a few words about that?
Just that it's so amazing how this sanctuary transforms magically into a social hall. So do join us for beverages, snacks, and really good conversation. In our work and ministry here at Granite Peak, we are guided by our mission statement. We are a compassionate, spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. It takes a covey of congregants to make sure our Sunday mornings run smoothly. We especially thank those who are part of our regular morning team: Lena Hubin, Karen Denny, Brian Willison, Martin Bramhall behind the screen, and Chris Hawthorne, who I think is also behind a screen. This is a good time to take a moment to set your phones on worship mode and also put your hands in worship mode. You can go like this. There are numerous ways to learn about the activities and events of our congregation. Information is available on our website at prescottuu.org. Then there's our weekly Peak newsletter, plus our monthly newsletter, The View. And then there are the announcements up here from the podium, and there are several today. Please stay a bit longer after the service for an important informational meeting. Capital Campaign leaders Russ Erickson and Norma Meyer and members of the project management team will be present after today's service for a community chat to answer questions about the renovation project and the need for congressional approval to pay the final bills to finish the project. Now, we have the money, it just needs congressional approval. I mean, Lord help us if we needed congressional approval. Thank you. Rick gave me the numbers are, we're asking for a vote next week, correct, next week, to increase the sanctuary spending limit, which is currently at $753,000, up to $893,000, which is the total of capital campaign commitments. So we're good to go. We just to dot the I's and cross the T's, we need to do that. Empty Bowls needs volunteers. And so this year it's going to be September 14th. Always need volunteers starting now. So Chris Hawthorne will be right here after the service today. I think he said he's going to be over in this area to answer any questions and let you sign up.
What's Empty Bowls?
Oh, come on, you have to ask that. Empty Bowls is the annual project that Prescott UUC, our UUC and the other fellowship have been doing for over 30 years, I believe. Local potters make bowls and wood turners make wood bowls, and we sell them down on the square. We get all the chefs in town to make soup, and so for a price you get a bowl, soup, bread, water, and all the money that we make goes to local food banks. It's a huge commitment for us to do every year, but we love it, and it's a huge thing for the community of Prescott and other places. Chris? So we donated $26,000 last year from this. So it's an important thing. So volunteer. Today is Karen Denny's last day to conduct the choir. She stepped forward to hold the choir together this year when we were unable to attract an outside director. So please stay after the service to enjoy a cake in her honor, thank her, and join in the choir thanking her. And now Mary Ellen Ewing would like to present a gift on behalf of the choir.
It's been my privilege to conduct these wonderful singers, and it has touched my heart. I spent my life doing music of one sort or another in choirs and in orchestras and in public school teaching, and they're easier than kindergartners to conduct, I can tell you that. they get along better than almost any group I've ever worked with, which has made it a lot easier. And I'm so grateful for this choir, and I'm so grateful for this congregation. Thank you all.
We can
I
clap
will
now.
be, I will not, I'm not leaving. I'm just going to crawl back in the alto section. And you can look at my face instead of the back of my head. And if we ever need a substitute, I'm around.
Thank you so much.
Okay, big hugs to you. One final announcement, because of the meeting after the service, the regular drum circle will be held about a half an hour later, or 15 minutes later or so. So instead of 11:30, meet over across the way at 11:45. And, I already mentioned the kids across the street are doing Juneteenth and Father's Day today. So Sandra always does such a wonderful job with those kids. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Charlotte Skews. Today, we light the chalice in honor of Pride Month and the family-friendly Pride Festival taking place this afternoon at the Fairweather Social Club. These words are by Linda Lee Franson, titled "The Pride Flame." We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds, the spark of knowledge that enlightens, the shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfire of our commitment. We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear, who hope, who persevere, who stand on the side of love for all. We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace, for those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate, for those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope. We light this flame to renew our commitment that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love. We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, living on the side of love. For this, we light this flame.
We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection in our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, of memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. Let's open our teal hymnals to hymn number 1014, Standing on the Side of Love. And I invite you to stand. Oh, did I leave the covenant out? No. We're doing Words of Gathering, opening hymn. We're in the right place. I invite you to stand as you're able to do so and join me in singing. join together on our covenant, which is printed in the order of service. Love is the
doctrine of this congregation. Justice is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we celebrate together. I'm sorry, my script disappeared. They always warn me about this. So, as we prepare to take the offertory this morning, let us remember that this congregation and its services are provided through your donations, through your gifts. And this morning's, I want to mention that this morning's offertory music in your order of service, it says it's the same melody as the British royal anthem is a contrafactum. Now, I thought maybe contrafactum meant against all facts, kind of like what a lot of people are thinking these days. So I had to look it up. Maybe you were curious too. So what it means is, and thank you, Lena, for expanding my vocabulary. And I don't have the words here in front of me, but when a tune, the words are changed, but it's exactly the same tune. So it's a musical term, not a political term. Give generously. We also support Seeds of Support through our donations, and this month's is the Yavapai Prescott Indian Nation Community Garden, excuse me. So you can read about them on the back of your order of service.
Feel free to sing along if you can follow.
So the other thing I wanted to mention specifically today, that each Sunday, half of the plate offering, the bag offering, and designated checks are given to the Seeds of Support. And so if you put a check in and you want it to go to Seeds of Support, you must put that on the memo line. Otherwise, the entire check goes to Granite Peak. So just a reminder. I'm sorry. So we acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. Ours is a community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on joys and sorrows. If there is an event which moves you to hope or gratitude, joy or concern, I invite you to come forward silently and drop a pebble into our communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. So I'm dropping 2 pebbles in as we pray for the lives of the Minnesota senator that is still recovering from bullet wounds, and mourn the deaths of her, the Hoffmans and the Hartmans. Also, a pebble of joy that we have air conditioning in here again. May our joys and concerns, surrounded by the healing communal waters of our beloved community, be acknowledged here today. So may it be. Let us sing together, Spirit of Life. The words are in your order of service.
So on January 20th at the Washington National Cathedral, the Episcopal bishop gave a sermon, and in the congregation were many dignitaries, including the President of the United States. These words are the conclusion of that sermon. She said, "Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. As you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are transgendered children in both Republican and Democratic families who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops, who clean our office buildings, who labor in our poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants, the people who work the night shifts in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches, our mosques, our synagogues, and temples. Have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away. Help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were once strangers in this land. May God grant us all the strength, the courage to honor the dignity of every human being, speak the truth in love, and walk humbly with one another and our God. For the good of all the people of this nation and this world.
So yesterday, we celebrated the 250th anniversary of the Army, and I thought of one of my ancestors who was in that first Army. Woolwich Fritts was 7 years old. He may have been 8. It's hard to know for the history. But he arrived in Philadelphia with his father in 1738. Because he was only 7, he wasn't required to swear allegiance to the king, but his father was, in order to live in the colonies in Pennsylvania. He had to go to the courthouse on October 30th, 1738, and swear allegiance to the King of England, which he did. There's a record of that. After that, I have no idea what happened to him. But Woolwich Fritts somehow made his way from Philadelphia south to Lexington, North Carolina. And he started a farm there. He got married. He and his wife had 6 children. His wife died in 1774. She was about 42 years of age. And then he decided in 1781 that he no longer wanted to be loyal to the King of England. So in March of 1781, there was a group of farmers who agreed to join the Continental Army and go to Guilford Courthouse, which was about 40 miles north of Lexington, for the Battle of Guilford Courthouse in March of 1781. And Woolwich Fritts was one with 2 of his older sons. John, the one that I'm descended from, was too young to go, but the other 2 went. And they lost that battle, but there were so many British regular soldiers who were killed during the battle that Cornwallis decided to retreat back up eventually to Yorktown, where he was then hemmed in by the French ships and the American troops and had to surrender, and the war came to an end. And that was in October of 1781. Meanwhile, Woolwich, having fought in the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, went back home to his farm in Lexington. It was the spring. I imagine that he was going back to plant crops for the summer. After news reached North Carolina of the surrender of Cornwallis at Yorktown in October, there were some folks who really liked the king and did not want to leave the British Empire, and they were very angry at this is my grandfather, who is 5 generations back, Woolwich. They went to his house and they shot him dead. And then they went to another house of his friend Leonard, and they shot him dead too. And today in the cemetery in Pilgrim Church in Lexington, North Carolina, he is buried, and you see on the cover of the Order of Service the stone. There's also a very large monument to him that was put there in 1896. Sometime after that, the 6 descendants decided to spell their name Fritts, which makes genealogy in my family fairly easy. If you spell your name that way, I'm somehow related to you. Now, on one side of the monument there that was put up in 1896, it says, "The heroes buried in this spot were cruelly assassinated in their own homes by Tories near the close of the Revolutionary War. They were patriots and bravely fought for America." And on the other side it says,
This monument was erected by citizens in 1896 out of admiration for our brave dead. These men are those who fought for and gained our liberty and independence. So, when the President of the United States posts a picture on Truth Social, which shows him with a crown, which he did in February, he says it's a joke, but I don't think it's funny. And then on May 28th, he posted a picture of himself. At the top of his photo, he wrote that he is on a mission from God, and on the bottom of the photo, it says, "Nothing can stop what is coming." Now, while Mr. Trump may be joking about wearing a crown on his head, in many of his actions, he behaves like an absolute monarch. If we believe in democracy, what is our proper response to this behavior? One answer can be found in the writings of a professor named Gene Sharp. Now, in 1982, I became aware of the writings of this man, Gene Sharp. I was a minister in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and Dr. Sharp, 54 years old at the time, was teaching classes in political science at Southeastern Massachusetts University. It's just a short distance from where my church was. Dr. Sharp was an expert in nonviolent political action. So I invited him to give a sermon at my Unitarian congregation in New Bedford. Although Dr. Sharp is the son of a Protestant minister, it turned out he was not himself a charismatic speaker. That morning, he talked about the nature of power, the dynamics of nonviolent struggles, and gave examples of tactics used in nonviolent resistance campaigns. People were sympathetic to his ideas, but they found the sermon to be a little dry. I talked with Dr. Sharp before and after the service. I found him to be a shy, reserved man, not an easy man to interact with in a conversation. And I remember thinking it was unlikely that his ideas would go beyond the small academic world of political science professors. Boy, was I wrong. One day, a few years after the creation of the internet, I searched for Gene Sharp's name. I wanted to see what had happened to him. I discovered he died in 2018, just a couple days after his 90th birthday, at a house in East Boston. I also discovered that in 1993, Dr. Sharp wrote a short book, less than 100 pages long. The title of this book is From Dictatorship to Democracy, a Conceptual Framework for Liberation. The book has become an important guide in helping people all over the world fight for democracy using the weapons of nonviolence. It is a guide we can use today in the United States. And From Dictatorship to Democracy, a Conceptual Framework for Liberation, Gene Sharp wrote that resisting the temptation to commit violence is important. Resisting violence is important. Violence against an authoritarian leader who has control of the army and the police, that kind of violence is doomed to failure. The violent actions in Los Angeles last weekend increase the power of the man who wants to be king and weakens those of us who want to restore our democracy. On the other hand, Dr. Sharp wrote, nonviolent action is a powerful weapon. He wrote also that in addition to nonviolence, planning is critical. Gene Sharp was in China in 1989 during the Tiananmen Square protests. He observed that the young people had the numbers, they had the passion, but they lacked a long-term plan. Without a plan, their demonstrations, their protests, their nonviolent actions ended in failure to change the establishment. In the same way, the demonstrations that many of us participate in at Courthouse Square here in Prescott, they can succeed if they are part of a plan. And I've tried to imagine what a short-term and a long-term plan might look like in the United States in 2025. Well, a short-term plan is for citizens to focus on turning a few members of Congress, a few congresspersons and senators, away from supporting President Trump's big, beautiful bill. The president wants the bill passed by July 4th. Our religion teaches that we need to show care and compassion for all people. However, this bill slashes Medicaid, taking health care away from millions. It slashes food stamps, taking food away from millions. Simultaneously, it gives a huge tax cut to the wealthy, dramatically increasing the federal deficit. Because the votes in the House and the Senate are so close, only a few members of Congress need to change their vote from yes to no in order for this bill to fail. So this involves the standard nonviolent approach of identifying the members of Congress who might change their minds and flooding them with phone calls and letter writing. Another part of a short-term plan will be to continue to support organizations like the American Civil Liberties Union in their efforts to use the courts to stop the president from acting like a king. A long-term plan will affect the outcome of the 2026 midterm elections. If we believe in nonviolence and we want to return the country back to democracy, we need to go through the political process and elect a majority in the House and perhaps even the Senate who oppose the president, and then he will have a much greater difficulty imposing his will. Now, that seems like a long way off, but it's not that far from now. Planning further into the future, our goal would be to elect a new president in 2028 who respects the Constitution and the intent of the founders of the nation, like my ancestor. Dr. Sharp would say that although this plan would take several years to achieve, and there will be setbacks, we can move our country from dictatorship to democracy over the next 3.5 years if we persist and do not give up. This is the nonviolent way to move from dictatorship to democracy. This is the way to avoid dividing the United States further. Practicing nonviolent actions. Have a plan. And know that it will take 3.5 years to succeed. So don't give up. Be patient. In his book, From Dictatorship to Democracy, Dr. Sharp lists 198 methods of nonviolent action. Democratic movements around the world have used this as a guide. In 2000, in Serbia, a youth movement using translations of Gene Sharp's handbook as a guide used it as for the successful struggle to overthrow Slobodan Milosevic. In Serbia, activists fighting Milosevic in the year 2000 elections printed, "He's finished," on stickers, T-shirts, and posters to help the population understand that he was not invincible. Now, this is number 7 on Sharp's list of 198 methods of nonviolent action: slogans, caricatures, and symbols. In November of 2003, the Republic of Georgia, in the Republic of Georgia, a civic resistance movement used the ideas of Gene Sharp to undermine the government of Eduard Shevardnadze. One of Dr. Sharp's suggestions is that the resistance movements create colorful names and a flag to symbolize the movement. Following this advice, the rebels called their movement the Rose Revolution. This is number 18 on Dr. Sharp's list of 198 methods of nonviolence. Display flags and symbolic colors. In November of 2004, in Ukraine, a civic youth organization espoused nonviolent resistance and advanced democracy and advocated democracy, creating what is called the Orange Revolution. In Ukraine, during the 2004 Orange Revolution that propelled opposition leaders to electoral triumph, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators turned Kyiva's Independence Square into a sea of orange flags. Again, number 18 on Sharp's list, display flags and symbolic colors. During the Arab Spring of 2010 in Cairo, during Egypt's revolution, protesters lived in a tent city in the city square. They produced art, they made music, they sang anti-Hossein Mubarak songs. Many Egyptians would gather there for Friday prayers, followed by mass political rallies. Numbers 20, 37, and 47 on Sharp's list. Prayer and worship, singing, assembling to protest. Marches are number 38 on Sharp's list of 198 methods of nonviolent action. Yesterday, nearly 1,800 No Kings nonviolent protests occurred across the United States, including one in downtown Prescott. It was an impressive day of hope and fear. Just as violent efforts at liberation sometimes fail, nonviolent efforts to create or restore democracy can also fail. The civil war in Syria started as a nonviolent struggle in 2010, using Gene Sharp's little book as its guide. The nonviolent effort to bring democracy to Myanmar followed the ideas in the book From Dictatorship to Democracy. Both efforts turned violent. I fear a violent civil war might happen in our own country. I feel the fear, but I also feel hope and believe humanity is making progress. Because of the work of people like Gene Sharp, effective nonviolent ways to restore our democratic practices can be successful. So here in Prescott, we should also remember that states, counties, and cities make up our nation. So we can participate in our own local Prescott City Council, can't we, Patrick? We can urge our state and local leaders to pass and enforce laws that are just and fair, laws that address issues such as health care and climate change. We have power. Democracy can work. I charge all of us to keep the principles of our faith and our Unitarian Universalist tradition before us. I'm going to be moving back to the Washington area in August, and I'm going to fix everything when I get back there. I will work to do my small part to preserve the democracy. Woolwich Fritts handed down to me an important legacy, a great heritage, and I owe it to him to try to preserve that. Every Sunday morning, every week, I charge you to meet here to support each other in your own beloved community. And if you can support each other now in this time, you all can make a difference. In a time of fear, we can offer a calm, stable presence of reason in an anxious and often irrational world. We can offer a positive vision of how human beings can make this a better world. We can offer a religious community that helps people overcome the loneliness of modern life. We can offer a religious place that helps each person feel that he and she are special, unique, and wonderful without devaluing others. Let's sing our closing hymn, number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness.
The choir will sing the first verse to you, and then we will all
heard I the first time, and you the second time, and me the third time.
Stand. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be raised to land of peace. May we be well. The Catholic worker lady, Dorothy Day, said, "People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do." Let's say our extinguishing of the chalice words, which are printed in the order service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Amen.
Let's have some coffee and come back in about 20 minutes. And if you have questions, we need a quorum of 50%. next week, we need a quorum of 50%. There are proxies out in there. So if you know you're not coming, please sign a proxy, get it to someone who's coming. See you in 20 minutes.